If you're a beginner and you've been trying to figure out how to choose a hoop and you keep hearing this thing about measuring from the floor to your belly button, I want you to get that out of your head and I'm gonna teach you right how to hoop dance. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Hello, my name is Jess and this video is actually a request that someone asked for. That's what a request is. To the commenter who requested it, I am not even gonna begin to try to say your name because I know I'm gonna screw it up, but I really appreciate you watching, and this is actually a video I've been meaning to make for a long time. Even though I'm not making hoops anymore, I still feel like it's hard to find good information on how to order hoops. So I'm gonna try to make this video as concise and easy to follow as possible so that by the time you get to the end of this video, you actually know what size hoop you need to get. I started hooping in 2008 and I have helped hundreds of people choose their first hoops. I want you to trust me when I tell you what I'm gonna tell you. First thing I don't want you to do, I don't want you to go onto your favorite hooper's video and be like, hey, what size hoop do you use? And then get that exact hoop thinking that you are gonna hoop just like them if you have that hoop. A skilled and talented hooper who has put in the practice, put in the hours, is gonna make a hoop of any size look good, from like little itty bitty to super big giant hoops. The hoop is not going to make you a great hooper, the practice is. This video is going to get you the best hoop to start that practice with. When it comes to actually picking a hoop, I recommend choosing one that is visually appealing so that you will want to pick it up and play with it, but also not so pretty that you're afraid to beat it up and scrape it up. This is your very first hoop. It's gonna get beat up. You're gonna drop it, it's gonna scrape on the concrete, little kids are gonna pick it up and do this jump rope thing and you'll want to punch them in the face. Don't do that either. Hoop etiquette. Buy it knowing it's going to get destroyed. So to choose your first hoop, you only need two things, and neither of them is the measurement from the floor to your belly button. Just ignore that advice. It's terrible, terrible, it's terrible advice. Ignore it, it's terrible advice. Terrible advice. Terrible! These are the two things you need to choose your first hoop. Number one, you need a clear idea of what you are hoping to learn when you start hooping. The second thing you need is an awareness of your body shape. There's just a couple simple measurements you need to get you on your way to the best hoop for you. First things first, what do you want to do in the hoop? It's very trendy right now to do a lot of off-body stuff, wedgies and escalators and isolations and just off-body flow where you're not spending a whole lot of time around the waist. If that's the style of hooping you want to do, just keep watching because I'm going to talk about choosing a hoop for that up next. If you want to do a lot of on-body hooping that is on the core, you want to start going around the waist, you want to do chest hooping, you want to do leg hooping, this is my favorite kind of hooping. If you have watched my tutorials in the past, that's the kind of hoop style I teach in my beginner tutorial series. You can skip ahead to this timestamp. That's where I'm going to talk about how to choose a good core hooping body hoop. And if you want to do a combination of the two, I recommend just watching this whole video. If you're going to do a lot of off-body hooping, it's a good idea to get a smaller, lightweight hoop like this. I'll go into more detail in a sec. The smaller hoops are going to be lighter on your hands. They're going to be easier to toss. They're not going to cause as much bruising as a big heavy hoop, though all hoops are going to cause you some bruising in the beginning. It's totally normal. The con with small hoops is they're really hard to learn to waist hoop on. The bigger hoops are easier to learn waist hooping on, but they are a lot harder on your hands. They are really big and kind of a pain to use if you're trying to do off body. So each of these hoops serves a purpose, and I'm gonna start with this one. A nice lightweight hoop is a good place to start if you want to do off-body hooping. You've probably seen that there's a lot of different kinds of lightweight tubing and a lot of different sizes of tubing, and you're like, I don't fucking, what? For your very first hoop, the differences between like Polypro and HDPE, 3/4 inch tubing or 5/8 tubing is really so negligible. I recommend for your first hoop, you either get Polypro or HDPE and you get 3/4 inch tubing. 3/4 inch tubing is a nice thickness. You can grip it really easily in your hands to learn isolations. It's great for weaves. This is just a good generic size. Get 3/4 inch tubing and you're gonna be fine. You can play around, and if you want to adjust some, you can do that on your next hoop. As for whether or not you should choose Polypro or HDPE, the differences are so negligible for a beginner hooper, it really doesn't matter. The one factor you might want to consider is the climate you live in. If you live in a colder climate, Polypro tends to crack in the cold, so if you're going to be doing a lot of wedgies, breaks, and reversals, you might just want to get HDPE. If you live somewhere where it's warmer, HDPE is a softer plastic, it's a little more mushy when it gets hot, and Polypro holds up better in a warmer climate. Really, that's all you need to think about. Also, never leave your hoops in the car. Just don't ever leave your hoops in the car where they're gonna sit in that box and get all hot and warped and screwed up. Don't do it. PSA. So what diameter should you get? That's the other measurement you need, is the diameter of the hoop, this measurement. Some stores measure OD, that is the outer diameter. That means they measure from the very outside edge of this wall of the hoop to the other outside edge of this wall of the hoop. Some stores measure inner diameter. That means they measure from this inner wall of the hoop to this inner wall of the hoop. Again, as a beginner, whether or not the shop you're ordering from measures OD or ID doesn't really matter. The measurement I recommend taking for getting a good starter hoop if you want to do off body is from the inner wall of your crotch to your foot, to the floor. That's a good size, you know, if you want to do wedgies. All the kids are doing wedgies these days. If your torso is a little bit taller than your legs, which is the case for me, you might want to add an inch or two just to ensure that you'll be able to like get it up and over if you plan on doing wedgies. But that little wedge in your crotch to the base of your foot, measure that, that's your diameter. 3/4 inch polypro or HDPE, that's your tubing. Bam, you've just chosen your first hoop. Good job. All right, and now we get to core hooping, which is where I'm going to tell you all of my opinions, whether you want them or not. There is so much weird stigma around big hoops. I've seen like people actually go into other hoopers' videos and be like, hey, this would have been a great flow if you had just used a smaller hoop. If that is you, stop. There is nothing at all wrong with using a hoop that is appropriate for your body, that's gonna give you the most benefit when you're learning. When I first started hooping, way back in 2008, polypro hoops weren't even a thing yet. Everyone was using these big old PE hoops and we liked it and we carried them 5 miles in the snow uphill both ways. So I made myself a 38-inch hoop and I used it for like a month and I was doing okay. But then I picked up my friend's 42-inch hoop and I was like, why have I been torturing myself with this tiny hoop? I'm an idiot. I don't want you to feel the same frustration that I did. I want you to get the right hoop right off the bat, whether it is 38 inches that you actually need or whether it is 58 inches that you actually need. It does not matter. What matters is that you have enough space in your hoop so that while you're practicing, you don't have to pump like a crazy person to learn the basic moves. Take a look at how I am moving, the rate of speed that I am moving. The hoop is weighted, it's 160 PSI, so it's got natural momentum. All I have to do is do the right movements to keep the hoop up. This hoop, the off-body hoop we were talking about, I have to move so hard and so fast to keep it going. I can't even keep it going without turning. And you know what? I don't want to. This isn't fun. It's hard. That hoop is not a hoop made for my body. You want a hoop that's got enough space in it that you will have the time to learn the moves properly, and you're not gonna get that by measuring from your belly button to the floor. If you are still not convinced, I want you to watch a few videos. I have a video called Don't Fear Bigger Hoops, where I do a hoop dance with a 43-inch 160 PSI hoop. I also have another video where I took hoops ranging from 28 inches to 50 inches and I had hoopers of various skill levels try them, including a bunch of beginners. Watch them and listen to what they say as the hoops get bigger. I'm also going to link an article in the description by Ruby Hooping. She made a great blog post where she actually has a video of herself using hoops of different sizes on her own body, and you can see the ease with which she's able to use the larger hoops. Okay, rant over. Are you ready to get the size that is appropriate for you? Here's what you gotta do. You're gonna measure your waist. You can either measure in the smallest part of your waist, or you can kind of shimmy your body around and wait until it gets to like your natural waist. Wherever it settles, that's your natural waist. Get that measurement, multiply it by 1.2. That is the diameter that you want. If you are of average size or you got a little bit more fluff on you, some more curves, I want you to order 3/4 inch, 160 PSI, either PE, polyethylene tubing, or HDPE tubing. If you are more petite or a little bit shorter in stature, I recommend getting 3/4 inch, 100 PSI PE tubing. So measure to get your diameter, pick that tubing, done, you've got your first hoop. If you're wanting to do a combination of on-body and off-body, I recommend honestly just getting 2 hoops. It's gonna be easier for you to learn both if you just get a big hoop and a small hoop. I would even recommend getting one that's kind of in the middle so that you have something else to play with and getting a feel for sizes. But if you don't have the resources to do so, 2 hoops is just fine. There are even some shops that sell hoops that start out one size and then you can remove a section and they go down a size. If you take your waist measurement and you find out it's a lot bigger than the shops you are finding offer, message the seller and ask them if they can make a bigger hoop. And I'm gonna link in the description some really good shops that I recommend that are beginner friendly that will work with you on sizing. And that is it. Don't make things hard on yourself. Just pick a hoop and just get it. That's it. I'm not really sure how to end this video. I don't really make hoop videos anymore, like I said, but if you enjoyed this and you want some tutorials, I do have a playlist of tutorials that I made in the past for core hooping, on-body hooping. You could also subscribe if you want to see a whole bunch of videos that aren't about hooping. My name is Jess. I attempt to make weekly videos. If you have any questions whatsoever, leave them in the comments. I am always willing to help someone choose the best hoop for them right out the gate. I hope you are having a beautiful day. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you the next time I make a video. Goodbye.